Right, hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. Now, this is going to be a little bit different, and even though we are on Titanic month, we're going to be doing something that's a little bit out of our comfort zone because this week, at the time of the upload, we are going to be reacting to a trailer that is for a movie which is coming out soon, and that movie is called Unsinkable. But I am not alone in this one, as I am joined by Emmy and DK,
Hello.
as we all know, are very good friends at History
Hi.
in a Nutshell. And then also joining with us for the very first time on this platform is Jamie. Hello, Jamie, Jamie from Old
Hello.
Shipping Lines. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
I mean, it's always a pleasure to have you, Jamie. And I know that, I mean, I think, is this your first time reacting with us? I think.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course, because I really didn't know, and when I was recording, when I was talking, I thought, oh okay, was I blabbering a little bit? But no, that's definitely not the case. Phew.
Mm.
But I know, Jamie, this is your first time to actually come with us, but you run your own channel called Old Shipping Lanes. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Thank you. So, yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Jamie again from Old Shipping Lines. Indeed, I have a YouTube channel which is also very funnily called Old Shipping Lines. The main focus of the channel is basically ships, ocean liners, who are not that well known. Sorry. Ships which have amazing stories to be told. I cover them, even though they are lesser known. Last week we did a video about the British shipwrecks of World War II, and yeah, it's basically again ships that are not well known, but deserve a little bit light on their stories.
And your videos always are really wonderful, Jamie, just because you
Thank
put
you.
a whole lot of effort into them. And then also, there are definitely new ships that I never came across before, and I found them very open and very interesting as well. But yeah, and I think to be fair, Jamie is the one to check out if you want content like his. So I will leave Jamie's channel in the description box down below. And we're going to probably jump straight into the trailer. Now, this is the second time we're going to be recording this, but we have Jamie and Emmy with us. So since they weren't there last time, but the first attempt didn't go according to plan, right, DK? Oh, DK? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, very unfortunately.
Did you turn your mic off again?
I gotta quit doing that.
Oh gosh, we're keeping that in. That's funny.
Poor man.
Oh dear.
It's hard to
But
do it when
it's
you
just one of
have other people over here, so yeah, I gotta come back.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Mm.
Oh goodness, but it's just one of those things that is mishaps really. But what was everyone hoping for second time round? So DK, we're going to start off with you. What you're hoping to expect? Just as we're pretending we've never seen it before.
I'm hoping that they have the story of the inquiries right. First of all, make sure every testimony is word for word, not basically added more perspective to it. Like if they reword it a little bit different, I would basically look back at the original testimony and say, okay, they kind of reword this part, but it's very understandable. But if they get like one part wrong, that's where I'm going to say, yeah, this is what not what this person said. This is what this person said.
Mm.
Hey, what would you think?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's tricky. I guess the history, I don't know how to explain it really.
Well, it's understandable, Emmy, because since you joined us, you never learned more in depth about the Titanic, really, and you're still learning the ropes, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I'm still learning. I mean, it's a very fascinating history about it, you know?
And then Jamie, what are you hoping? as well. What are you hoping out of the thing? Because you just recently visited a Titanic museum in Belgium. Now, have they got any descriptions of the inquiries, like the U.S. inquiry? I cannot pronounce the words today. Ugh.
No, they don't have like a section of the inquiry. Of course, not that I believe. Of course, there's a small bit, but not particularly like a large bit. But what I personally hope in this movie is I agree largely with DK. But what I also would like to see is how they portray the victims in this movie. If they treat them with respect, how they treat them generally. I mean, how they treat. For me personally, I wonder how they will treat brides, but most importantly, Ismay. I'm very interesting how they will portray Ismay in this chapter of the tragedy.
Since we did an interview with Cliff Ismay as well, because since we've got closer to Bruce Ismay like we've done before, there's going to be some strong chances that his portrayal might be inaccurate. Which is a constant worry, especially within the Titanic community, given now that we know the full story. That's it. We know the full story of Ismay now. So yeah. Right, so when I was looking at it, I was really disappointed because this trailer's probably about 1 minute long. So I think what we're going to do is when we ever get the opportunity at any time, we can always pause briefly to talk about if there's anything that's inaccurate or what we think is going to happen. So since the trailer's a bit short, we're probably going to take a chance to stop and start so we can have like a full discussion about it. Does that sound good with everyone?
Yes, of
Sounds
course.
cool.
Okay. Okay, so when you're ready, DK, fire away.
Fire it away.
Okay, so that quote, we'll probably stop right there actually. This quote is a very well recognizable one because that's been used a lot in Titanic documentaries. This was written in a pamphlet by first class passenger Jack B. Thayer. And his story, if you haven't read his story yet, oh my goodness, you're in for a roller coaster ride, honestly. Like, it's one of the most scariest stories I've ever read about the disaster. But this quote definitely comes out a lot, and it kind of like, it hits you in the face, really, because it's such a powerful statement, really, if you could call it a statement from a pamphlet, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Continuing.
I am William Alden Smith, a United States Senator, investigating the cause of one of the greatest maritime disasters in history.
I think I want to stop right here real quick because I just actually noticed something.
Yeah,
I
noticed too.
The high angle. It's not
I noticed too.
It's not like it was 45 degrees as what we saw in the James Cameron movie. Now these days, when you look at the Titanic Honor and Glory animations, it's basically much lower than that.
Reminds me of a sketch. I don't know which sketch is that, but that's the who it's by. Let me have a look for a second because there was a sketch that I recently came across, and it had the stern about that's the same angle as that's portrayed in the movie. Let's have a look. Final plunge. Illustration. So yeah, let's have a look on Google. I'm sure it's here somewhere. Here we go. So this one, it's the artist on this one. I'm just having like a look at it, and it's called The Loss of the Titanic, and that was by a British painter named Charles Dixon. And for some reason, that right angle you see in the Unsinkable trailer, it reminds me of Dixon's picture each time. like really does that. But I think it definitely is a little inaccurate. Like Dixon's animation as well. It is accurate, but considering it was probably rushed at the time because that was drawn probably not long after the disaster. But yeah, I can still see why they wanted to portray that really. That maybe they just wanted to get some accounts or illustrations for that things like that. I don't really know, but since Titanic Thunder and Glory have done a lot of animation and so since Titanic Thunder and Glory have done like other bits of animation, everything has changed and bits have changed, and yeah, so I'm guessing that things have changed. But you have to remind me, what was the accurate angle for the Titanic before the breakup? Well, which angle was that? Was that 45 degrees?
Back then, it used to be around 45 degrees. That was up until 2012, where the ship actually did kind of break up at a 23, 24 degree angle. Because you have to keep this in mind, though. You got some of the spacious areas, like the dining rooms, and also the heavy engines, the 900-ton engines, that basically serves as the center of gravity. That actually did contributed to the breakup.
Might I add something as well with this shot of the model?
Then go on then,
ahead.
Jamie.
I'm always a big fan when it comes to detail and all perspectives of like movies like this. And in my opinion, the model looks a little bit barren. I mean, they could have added a little bit more to how actually to the ship itself, maybe like deck chairs sliding down, or maybe like people hanging on the sides. On how I see it from the trailer, it looks more like the Titanic is completely empty without any people on it. On her, sorry. Maybe it's just a trailer, and of course it's not the main focus of this movie. But it looks like nobody's on her decks actually. So maybe I'm wrong from this shot. Maybe it will be added later on, but from how it looks now, it looks like the Titanic is an empty ship. Like nobody's on the decks. There's nothing going on.
And then also another inaccuracy there, because it looks like just before it was high up there before it was the breakup. A little bit of inaccuracy there. These lights weren't too bright. They were dim, but they weren't as bright as that. And then when the breakup occurred, all the lights apart from the emergency lights, and then one light at the back of the stern, were lit, and they were only lit for about a few seconds. But this is like from what you see with the lights from the Titanic, even the lights at the back of the stern, totally inaccurate. So I'm gonna have to criticize that one, I'm afraid.
Plus, I don't think the lights would be burning bright at this point. I think they would kind of have that red, hueish kind of color.
Yeah.
Basically, with the lights getting ready to burn out. Because you have to remember.
I think the lights went out, like the bright lights went out when the bridge went underwater. No, that's when the whole red thing started.
Yeah. Yes, that's it.
Interesting.
It kind of burned like a yellow orangish glow, like right before the bridge. About went under, but once that bridge goes under, it's like it's dimming out. Because we had to remember, it was actually moonless night, and you can. If you were anywhere on that ship, if you actually put your hand out in front of you, you couldn't see anything.
I mean, some people would have been lucky enough to see something, but then you wouldn't see anything at all, really. But I think if you were to see a breakup on all of that, only the red lights that were burning on for a few seconds would do that, especially at the end of the stern as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those emergency lights, they would be burning for about 20 to 30 seconds before it went out completely. I think that another source of light is basically an oil lamp up on the main mast as well.
Yeah. But that stood up for like a few seconds, or maybe did it light up a bit longer, or is it just about seconds again?
Mercy,
when
right?
the red lights.
Oh no, the oil lamp, like you said, DK.
Ah.
I think oil lamp would basically it would have went out when the mast itself went underwater.
Ah, right. That will probably make sense then.
Right? Shall we continue?
Yep, let's continue.
The Titanic. Your ship, sir.
They'll only be compensated to White Star and its ports
Actually,
found
pause right
negligent.
there. I've noticed something. Go back to where it says Alden Smith tells Ismay the Titanic is your ship.
All right.
Ship, sir.
This scene.
This is it. That is so inaccurate, that one, because everyone always assumes that, and every documentary has done this. Everyone always assumes that the Titanic was Bruce Ismay's ship. No, that is not true. But to be fair, though, the Titanic was owned by the White Star Line, or the Oceanic Navigational Steam Company, which was another name for the White Star Line. But since Bruce Ismay was chairman of the White Star Line, I probably wouldn't think that he owns the Titanic, because mainly Titanic, even though she was a British ship built in Northern Ireland, she was technically owned by the Americans, because especially with JP Morgan, because White Star Line was bought out by JP Morgan back in 1902, even before the Titanic was constructed. And that was part of oh god, I'm gonna have to try and think back on my history
The
again.
International Mercantile Marine Company, the IMM.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So the Titanic was owned by the International Mercantile Marine Company. So JP Morgan set up that foundation after buying the White Star Line, after British shipping companies were in financial ruin. But I mean, even though J. Bruce Ismay was chairman of the White Star Line and he was president of the International Mercantile Marine Company, to say that Titanic was his ship is a complete understatement, and I always cringe at that. I really do.
If I could add something, and I know history of ships, of course, and I know a lot of Titanic, but I'm not like an historian expert, so please interrupt me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But could it maybe be that he meant with your ship, sir? Titanic was considered a little bit Bruce Ismay's baby, because it was like his maybe crown jewel of achievement, the Titanic, that maybe he means that with your ship, because he was so proud of her that maybe they considered, or could I be wrong?
Be a criticism, because a lot of people would go back to that statement because of the infamous dinner with Lord Peary. And yeah, everyone always assumes that the myth was that, though the Titanic was actually planned as early as 1904, and mainly because since the White Star Line were in competition with their rival, the Cunard Line, and they decided to build the ships, and in order to do that, they were in full swing, and they built the gantries as early as 1904, possibly 1905. So they did know what they were doing, and I think plans were drawn up either by 1906 or 1907. Again, I might have to check on my history, but I think really, even though it's hard, it's really difficult, because a lot of people are like debating about this, really, because they believe in one side of an argument and in the other side of an argument. But I think for me personally, the Titanic and the Olympic and the Britannic were everyone's ships, really, not just Bruce Ismay's, because to have a ship focus on one person, that I don't know, it just sounds a little bit to me, really. But I can understand where you're coming from, Jamie, just because I believed it to begin with as well, and that was way before I went into that field. But we didn't hear your thoughts, Emmy and DK. What would you think about that?
I think that was a pretty good statement.
A good
Yeah.
statement?
Well, there you go.
Oh, there we go. Oh, so the same would be mine. I thought about like the thing in the trailer. Okay, looks like we don't need any more explanations. Before we know it, I'm going to be a walking library. Oh dear, oh dear. Right, we'll probably carry on.
Right?
They'll only be compensated if White Star and its employees are found negligent. Are you willing to admit to negligence, gentlemen?
You did not respond. We are sinking, and our passengers and our crew are in danger.
What agreement with the military?
War. Disregard. War.
Surely it was an act of God.
And then, Mr. President, the lives that went down on this fated night will not have gone down in vain.
It's like there's not much to be back on all that, but I think at the very end, because the final inquiry report, in the US inquiry. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but was the final report being delivered to the president from William Alden Smith? Like, or was it presented it to the White House, the final report?
That might be it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because I know that the report was, because I think that the United States were on it straight away, and even though it was quite quick, the final report, I don't know about like how long it took really, but I think it took up until May, because the president, Theodore Roosevelt, who was the president at the time, he had a
It
friend
was
who
William
actually
Howard
went.
Taft.
Was it William Taft?
Yes, William Howard Taft was president around the time the Titanic went down. And you had to remember,
Oh, I do beg your
he
pardon.
also had a friend of his that was actually on board the Titanic. He died as well.
Yes, and definitely know that one is oh, his name's at the tip of my tongue.
Major William Archibald Butt.
That's the one, Major Butt. Oh gosh. This is what happens when your brain goes dead. But yeah, so he did actually went down with the disaster, and Taft wanted to know some answers, didn't he?
Oh yes.
And, oh yeah, and that's when William Alden Smith jumped at the opportunity. But it was really interesting though with the inquiries, because not only that, I'm so surprised they actually missed it out completely in the trailer. But at point, Smith went onto the RMS Olympic when she was docked in New York Harbor, and he did an interview with Captain Haddock and the two wireless operators of the Olympic. And the Olympic was seen for her Marconi wireless equipment, and then also I think she was witnessed by Smith, and as she did some maneuvers based on what survivors have said, representing the Titanic while she struck the iceberg, which is an interesting fact, and no one knows about it. It's not really well known. Well, no one doesn't know about it, but it's not well known, and I think it definitely deserves to be mentioned. But I'm so surprised they didn't put it in the trailer, because that would have been a good one.
Yep, and I also brought up the final report. It was actually presented to the United States Senate on May 28th of 1912, 19 pages long, 44 pages of exhibits, and summarized 1,145 pages of testimonies and affidavits.
That's a lot.
So his recommendations, along with those from the British inquiry, concluded that on July 3rd, 1912, led to many changes in safety practices following disaster. The report's key findings were actually a lack of emergency preparations left Titanic's passengers and crew in a absolute state of unpreparedness, and the evacuation's been chaotic. There was no general alarm given out, no ship's officers formally assembled, no orderly routine was attempted to organize system safety begun whatsoever. The ship's safety and life-saving equipment not been properly tested. Captain Smith also showed an indifference danger that was one of the direct contributing causes of the unnecessary tragedy. Lack of lifeboats was the fault of the British Board of Trade. To its laxity of regulation, hasty inspection, the world is largely indebted for this awful tragedy. The SS California has been much nearer to the Titanic than the captain is willing to admit, and the British government should take drastic actions against for his actions. And to be fair, though, California didn't know what was going on.
No.
Bruce
No.
Ismay did not order Captain Smith to put on extra speed. That was, and to be fair though, that was actually made for the 97 movie and any other movies made before that. And for those that don't believe me, check out Cliff Ismay's book. I know unintentional advertising called Understanding J. Bruce Ismay by Cliff Ismay. We'll leave a link to that book down in the description box below.
As well, if I may, talking about Ismay, Michael Brady of Ocean Liner Designs, he also made a video debunking the myths and theories of actually Ismay being the villain. Because we as well know is that Ismay, talking about the speed, he was somebody who was more keen on quality instead of speed. He didn't want the ship to go faster. Instead, he wanted that the experience of the passengers itself would have been most comfortable. So that's a whole lie, like you said, DK, that he wanted the ship to go faster, sadly.
Yeah, and the biggest one was basically hugely controversial about third-class passengers being locked down. They weren't actually been prevented from reaching the lifeboats. Of course, the gates were actually locked throughout the voyage, but they were mostly unlocked during the evacuation. And you have to keep this in mind, there was a huge language barrier around there.
Mainly also with Italians, right? From the Luigi Gatti restaurant.
We got Italians, I think we got some Syrians that were in there, Czechoslovakians, basically from all different parts of the world.
If I can ask a question also regarding the trailer, sorry, my English. Is it at the back there's a mention of war? What do they mean with that? A mention of war. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, that's before the First World War, so my guess is that the world was on the grips of a war because of Germany, but that's just a theory, really, because at the time, British shipping companies were in competition with German shipping companies, and they always had this, like, a big debate of who can build the fastest and the biggest liner of ships, and they were having a right old ding dong with each other. But then outside the maritime industry, things were escalating, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't there also a theory that and it's a theory, of course, it's not true at all, but that when the Titanic sank, that had an impact on the war? Somebody said that. I don't remember.
Well, no, it didn't really have an impact on the war. You're more thinking of the Lusitania, but
Yeah.
but with the war, really, the Titanic opened new doors for opening the realization that the Edwardian dream was like done, finished, because at the time everyone believed that big technology is so bigger than nature. Nature has no power against powerful machinery like man-made, and to say that everything is done wonderfully, especially if a ship is quote unquote unsinkable, which is a word that always makes me feel meh, like feel sick, and just to say that it's hitting nature it like punching nature in the face, and in the words of Esther Hart, that is flying in the face of God. And when the Titanic sank, it opened the doors and it made people wake up thinking, the dream of what we have is over. This is the reality. Man is not perfect, and things have changed. Now this has happened, and it's a huge wake up call.
I see.
Yeah. But sometimes, hopefully that made sense.
No, it did.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Jamie, I saw you posting something in the VCR. What was that a clip that you put in?
Yeah, that's a clip. That's how they that's a clip of how they a scene between Smith and Ismay.
So does everyone want to have a look at that quick while we're recording?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let me pause real quick.
If you
Ismay,
want,
you
I can
and
send
your
it to
crew
you
will
in a
remain
DM
here
as
until my
well.
inquiry is complete, and you will give the American people an accounting of your actions.
I will not be treated like a child.
There you
Perhaps
go.
if you were, your seat on the lifeboat would have been more
Provided by
appropriate.
Old Shipping Lines and Company.
Okay, well, that is all that we've got time for. So I want to give like a massive big thank you to Jamie as well. Jamie, I'm not as well, sorry. Jamie, it was really good to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It was a pleasure and an honor. I had an extremely fun time. Thank you.
And a huge thank you to DK and Emmy as well. Did you both enjoy it?
Yep.
That was really fun. Thank you.
Oh, no worries. But we'll definitely have to do something another time as well. And if you would like to see Unsinkable, a link will be left in the description box down below, but it's not going to be played everywhere. So definitely check which state or county or country you are in. And if you want to know more details, the Cineworld website will take you from there, and it will tell you where it's going to be playing. But even though some of us won't be watching because it's not playing our hometowns, hopefully we'll get a chance to see it very soon. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. And if you are seeing it, let us know what you think in the comment section down below after the release. And until then, we will catch you very soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.